Yeah, this Jeep's cool and all, but you know what it could really use? Yeah, more lights. I've already got a light bar in the front and the back and in the headlights, and maybe some in the side. So let's get a little Need for Speed under here. Get some rock lights. Ooh, another sponsored video. So this is by LEDMERCY. And these are an 8-piece set of white rock lights. So yeah, something might actually be useful. I mean, unless you're a JK. So, what are rock lights used for? Well, if the name didn't already give it away, it's so that you can see the rocks underneath your car. So, when you're out in places like Moab, and anywhere else that's not Moab, and there's lots of rocks and things, and you like to do that crazy night wheeling stuff, it's a little hard to see under your vehicle when it's dark. So unless you got a lot of buddies with flashlights, rock lights are very easy and useful at illuminating all the obstacles underneath. So that way you can see what you're actually hung up on instead of clink, clank, clunk. Oops, broke it. So yeah, let's tear into this and see what we think. Alright, underneath that beautiful wrapper, we've got some goodies. And some instructions and stuff. LEDMERCY, though the good Chinglish include. Nice. And a cute little instruction manual for showing how to install things and where to put them. Isn't that nice? You don't always get that. I'll say that the guy that contacted me was very not clear at what he was trying to get me to review, or even what his company was. But this is the company, and these are the lights. So it looks like they're in boxes of 2. They've got all kinds of different colors on here, so, you know, in case you're trying to illuminate more malls than you are trails, they've got different colors as well. Blue, red, yellow, green, and white. So of course I went for functional white. They don't give a color temperature, but I guess you figure for rock lights it's not that big a deal. So yeah, this is everything you get in the kit. I got 8 of them, and I think that came out to a little over $60. So, details. These use Cree LEDs. They are 9 watts a piece, and Amazon says 350 lumens, but the picture that they had showed 700 lumens, so I'm not sure which one to trust. But somewhere within the 350 to 700 range. These are white, Cree, all that. They're waterproof, IP68, so you can submerge them. At least that's what they claim to be rated for. But yeah, we get some hardware and the light itself. There's no wiring harness though, so we will have to figure out our own wiring. So that should be exciting. But yeah, got a nice little rubber mounty boot there. Some things. 4 Allen keys, 2 nuts. Okay, we've got 4 nuts. So one, I guess, mounts the case, and the other mounts the lights. Maybe? I don't know. What are these for? Why you do this? In case you need smaller or bigger, they give you both. Interesting. But anyway, that is a rock light. I think this was 2 3/4 inches long, so they're fairly narrow. They don't take up a lot of space. They got a built-in heat sink, so, and they are fully sealed with a nice, looks like some kind of epoxy. It's not squishy. But these things will go just about anywhere. So I'll have to look online and see where other people find a common place. You can put them in the wheel wells if you're not worried about them getting squished. But since I have 8 of them, we could do in front and in back of the wheel. Oops, let's try out that hardness. Pretty good. But yeah, basically you want to find a place that looks like it'd be good for mounting stuff, and it's not going to get hit or covered in mud the second you go out on the trail. So that might be a little more difficult to figure out, but, you know, anywhere that you think you could put these, they're small. Very small. But don't let the name fool you. These things could be used just about anywhere. So if you need some kind of interior lighting, or something, or under hood lighting, or just about anything. You can put these anywhere. They don't have to be underneath the vehicle. So anywhere that you need more light, these things could probably work out for you. I have wanted to do hood lights for a while. Alright, so here we have our rock light over here, hooked up for testing, and I'm pretty impressed. For what it's, designed to do, it's only meant to illuminate a small area. It has a super wide angle. Like, if I can show this off, it's pretty hard to show the cutoff. Like, that's legit, like, that's near 180. So if this is straight up and down, right? Like, look at that. That's like almost a 170 plus degree angle. So wherever you put this, it's going to shine everywhere. So the fact that it doesn't come with wiring makes this a little annoying for testing purposes. But from the looks of it, we can put this darn thing almost anywhere, and she'll be pretty happy. So I figure, what, one in front of the tire, one in back of the tire for each side, and we'll be sitting pretty, I think. Let's see if I can put some longer wires on this. Alright, so I started digging around in the pile of crap, and look at what I found. Some old speaker wire. Speaker cable. And this is 16 gauge, so that is plenty enough for what we're doing right here. Plenty enough, because these are like nothing. Like, look at that gauge size. That's teeny tiny. So these are 2 rolls of, I don't know, it looks like probably close to 20 foot. And with some splicing and running through the body, that should be enough to at least run the lights down the frame, and then we'll have to, tie these to our main source somewhere. But this is a good start for sure. So yeah, speaker wire or something like that, not bad. Another thing to think about, if you want to do it this way, you can either ground them all at one spot, so you tie the positive and the negative together, or what we can do is we can ground these all at the body. So what you could do is put an eyelet on here and, tie it to the grounding screw. So when you screw it to the body, that will be your ground. So as long as that's a good electrical connection, that can work. But that also means that you've got 8 new points of failure. So any one of the lights might not work if one of the things is loose. Just so that you can get a good idea, I'm going to turn all the lights off. So that is how wide and bright our little rock light is. So let me turn this down a bit to what I see. I'd say I see about that. Something or what. Right where the U-joint's at, that's like comfortably bright. It's not like overexposed or anything. It's like, it's nice. And the cool thing is, I like that spot a lot because that gives you instant access, an instant point of reference for your U-joint, so you can go, oh, that's blown or not. That's great. So if you're down here, you're busted up on the trail, you gotta check things out, and you're worried, hey, is something broken or not? That's gonna be your number one point of concern. Trying to see under the axle and stuff like that. Just wanted to show what that looks like. I kind of dig it. So if you only had 4, you could do right over the wheel well, like that. And that'll kind of give you a little left and right. When you come to the front, you can still kind of see the U-joint and stuff around. It's okay. Alright, so this is what we get with 2. So you can see that there's a fair bit of light. You can completely see around the tire. So when you get under here, you can really see, the front, the back, and pretty well around. I kind of like this setup. This isn't too bad. So we'll mount one in the center, right under the bumper. That'll give you a perfect view of the pumpkin, your axle, everything that you're going to hit on the forward side. So that'll be like the most, important part for your spotters, is to be able to see where the rocks are and what you're about to hit. Now, when you come on the back side, you might want to see how the tire's being stuffed or something like that. But that is an interesting thing to think about, is when the tire's stuffed, it's going to be blocking more of this light, so you might lose some of that. We could go back a little farther in the fender well, but then you start to lose even more of the back. So like you see how when we had it center, at least we get light back there. When we go this way, we don't. So I'm thinking either center the light in the fender well, or we'll come farther back and mount it either side of the rock slider. Okay, so here's position 2, right? So now what we have, the front still, we don't have any of the fender well really, but we do have everything behind the tire. So you can get a much better view of that kind of stuff. So, So lighting up the rear is going to be a little tricky. And here we are, looking at the back one. So this is kind of where I'm at for this. Not bad, there's quite a bit of spread. The biggest issue here is the gas tank. If we look into the light up here, you can see it's fairly flat and whatever, so we can kind of move it forward, we can move it backwards, and we got this nice rail that we can kind of play with. But yeah, the gas tank and the exhaust on this side pretty well get everything covered. So I don't know if I can find a spot unless we go forward about like near the middle of the tire. That might get us out of the mud zone and maybe give us a little better view of the locker, but possibly less of a leaf spring. I don't know. Maybe I'll move it forward, see how that looks. Okay, so now this is about centered over the tube, right where, kind of where the bump stop would go. Maybe a little bit behind it. So with that, we still get a little bit of light on the leaf spring. It's not direct, but you might be able to get an idea. The only nice thing about that is that we can get a very clear view of the axle, so we can see what that's doing. We can't really go too far forward, or the exhaust is going to start blocking stuff. But if we come to the front, we can see that the front is pretty well in shadow. So whatever we do at the back, that one will have to take over. So the next idea is to mount it somewhere inside over here. And this seems to be a better spot. So let's turn this back off. So we're getting a lot of usable light on the ground near the tire. We can see, you know, a lot of the axle, some of the drive shaft. So from the front, pretty good. You can get a really good idea of where your tire is about to go. On the back, you can get a nice silhouette of where the shock tower is. So I guess that's not too bad. You get to see most of the tire. There's another thing, the exhaust. The exhaust is like covering the entire passenger side. So where I wanted to mount the first one in the front left, we can't mount in the front right, because on that side is the muffler and, you know, the rest of the exhaust. So that would block just about any usable light that we would have. So we can't really do that. So instead what I'm going to do is we're going to stagger them front and rear. So I'm going to do one in the front, and I think we're going to do one in the rear. So this one in the rear lights up on the other side of the axle, so we get both sides of the tires. I think we get a little bit more in the back, but I'm not sure. We get to see, you know, this wonderful, you know, axle and all that stuff. So I think as far as that goes, yeah, we'll probably do one above the gas tank, kind of, sorta, and we'll do the other one up in the front. Then with the other two, left and right, and the other one in the front. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So with those two, I think they axe up pretty well. This one from the back kind of makes up for the one in the front. So about the only thing is the drive shaft was casting a bit of a shadow, but I think as well as having the ones that are going to be in behind the front tires, it'll fill in everything nicely. So it might be time to start drilling holes. Alright, so if you can, try not to just go drilling willy-nilly everywhere. Try and find out where the other side is. So if we're paying attention, where we want to mount it is about right in this area. You know, you can tell where the drive shaft hump comes and where this angle is, and we're like right at the end of the angle. So right around in this area is where we want it. So that's good, it's clear, we're not going to run into any major problems. So that should be fine. I'm going to start with that one, then I'll probably do the back one, and then I'll move up to the front. Okay, so the kit supplies you with two different sizes. We got a big size and a small size. I figure I'll use the small one because with these little plastic spacers they provide, it actually fits quite nicely, and what's the point of making a bigger hole if you don't need it? I figure with this one, it's a finer thread pitch, so you actually have more threads to work with, so, I don't know. Anyway, hole size is one step above 3/16, so it's a 1364. And the Allen key looks like to be a 1/8, I think that was. So that's cool. And with that plastic spacer, we can put the bolt through the top and install the nut on the bottom. So nothing wrong with that, eh? So I got the first hole drilled. We can see where that's at. Our next one is going to go somewhere over here-ish. So, yeah. Won't that be snazzy? Oh. So now we got a big old studaroo. And a bright ass light. Jesus Christ. Don't look at that. Okay, and look at that. Cool. I dig it. That'll be sticking up a little bit. We can, I don't know. I could just flip it over and put the nut on the side, but I feel like this way is going to be easier for installing. But I'm going to hold that there so we can figure out where to drill the other hole. Okay, so now your final dilemma is really going to be how you're going to run the wire. So, with this setup, you can drill another hole in the middle and run the wire into the vehicle. So, we could do that from the inside. Run that wire, underneath some stuff under the floor mats and all that crap. Or we could just run it out here, which I think I'm going to do. I'll just have it follow the fuel line. We'll have it come out over to here. That'll be easy enough. Run down the frame rail. That should be easy enough to hit that light and go to the front. And I'll have to decide how I want to connect that side. But yeah, I think I'm going to run them from the outside. So we only need 2 holes. And that's kind of what it'll look like. So got everything set up, ready to go. So we can bolt that one down. The only thing that I would say is we will modify this rubber grommet. So we will cut a little sleeve out of the side here. So that way the wire can run out the side, nice and flush, mount it all together. And she should be happy to go. So anyway, I feel like we're going to be doing a lot of this over and over again. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like when I think I'm finally done. So, alright. Alright, so there you go. These 2 are drilled. Trying to get this one a bit tricky. There's not enough room to actually stand it up. So what I did is I stuck a pry bar and actually pried up on the top panel because it's actually just really loose. So I just went back here with the pry bar and pried up on that just a little bit, and it was enough to let it fall in. So there we go. Now we can flip this guy around and mount that up there like that. Put the nuts in, and that should be good. Excellent. 2 lights down. A lot more to go. Okay, I think it's been about 45 minutes to an hour. Finally got one installed. Holy friggin' shit, man. Tight corridors and not having the right sizes and all kinds of crap. So anyway, I had one of these Allen key socket dealios because I needed something that was going to spin on its own power. And then I had to also put a wrench on the back side of the nut to hold the nut. I had to put the studs through the top because there was no way I could push enough to get the nut started, and even if you did, you couldn't get the socket to fit inside the groove. So yeah, that's the way it's got to go. Good lord. So, 1 wire, yay! At least this one we can kind of sort of access a little easier. Ugh. And just like that, it's daylight and everything is kind of done. Alright, so we've got all 5 of our lights installed, like so. So, yeah, interesting thing with this hardware, you are going to need either 2 people or give her the good old reach around so that you can actually get to it, because the nuts do not stay in place. They have those plastic little locking business things in there. So you have to tighten and hold. So I have to get a wrench and hold the nut to actually tighten any of these. But now they're all installed. You see I made little cutouts for the wires to come out of the side. So that's really easy, so that way you don't have to drill a hole in the middle. Cool beans. Alright, so now we're going to have to wire them all up. So I figure I'm going to run the wire down the fuel rail so we can piggyback that one and this one and run that somewhere up to the front. So the only one we're gonna have to figure out is that one, and we also got one right in the front somewhere. So I'll have to figure out where to run the wires to connect them all up. Okay, so real quick, I just want to see what kind of power these things actually pull. So we've got 3 LEDs in there and some regulator circuit stuff. So we've got our multimeter up here set up to amp mode. We're on the 4 amp scale, and we're pulling 230 milliamps. That's like nothing. Excellent. So 230, we could be safe and round that up to 250. So that means that 5 of them would pull 1.25 amps. So that's not a lot of power at all. You could probably safely run that through just a regular switch. You know, as long as you got like a switch that's rated for a couple amps, like that's not a lot of current at all. So I think we can skip the relay and we'll just run these through a switch. Okay, so as usual, change of plans. I'm gonna actually run the wires inside the vehicle. It's gonna make a lot more sense with the way that I have it planned out. So I found a wonderful little plug right there that I drilled through and right up in there. That's easy. And then this one, I didn't feel like taking out the nuts because there's no way I'd be able to get it back on. So we're just gonna drill right there. Wonderful, good to go. Now, the main reason for this decision actually comes with these lights over here. So my problem was I was going to run the wires down the fuel rail and then go up in the cab somewhere. Well, here's the issue. How the heck are we going to get this wire over here? Okay, if you notice, that is going to dangle and snag and catch on everything, okay? Anything that's sliding on this frame is going to rip that wire out. That's not cool. There's not any holes that go in one side and out the other. They all come out the bottom because they're drain holes. So that wasn't going to work. And the other issue is with that wire is how the heck were we going to connect that one without running all the way up to the front of the Jeep and back around, you know, wasting a bunch of wire. It'd be easy to just go from here to this wire here. So by doing it inside, we can go over the trans tunnel and not have to worry about the exhaust either. So that solves a couple issues. Because if you think about it, we're going to have to put the switch in the vehicle at some point too. And with the way that all my switches are laid out, we have our front lights and we have our rear lights. So I figure rock lights would go right next to the rear lights. Now we'll have to cut out a section inside the center console because this part, it has a bulge, this part does not. So we'll have to do some modification, but I'm going to put that there. So if the switch is going to be here and the light is here, might as well run the wire here to there. And if we're already inside the vehicle, might as well do the rest inside the vehicle. So this one, it's going to come underneath the seat. Then we got this one right here. So we'll connect these two up and go forward to the switch there. So these two will meet there, those two will meet there. And then the only one we got to worry about is the front. Excellent. So I think that's a bit more manageable. So I'm going to try and reroute some wires and stuff. I'm probably going to take these out and center drill them so that they look a little prettier. But yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so now the fun wiring gets to begin. So we're going to combine these two together. They should reach and not be under a super amount of tension. So for this set of speaker wire, luckily one side has text, the other side does not. So this will be our positive. So as the fun saying goes, you strip your wire, you solder it together, you add the heat shrink. You add the heat shrink. So we're going to put the heat shrink on first. And wrap that all up and solder it. Alright, ain't that some fancy stuff. So that's all wrapped up. So if we can get that all to stay, we're going to solder it, slide the tubes on, be good to go. The joints are soldered, but if we flip them over, we can see that the speaker wire is not taking the solder. It's not wetting properly, so that means it's old or dirty or just not good. So we're going to use some of this good stuff. This is soldering flux. So this is an acid that when you heat it up will actually clean the copper and helps the solder stick. So we're going to try and put some flux on there and see if that'll clean it up enough to get like an actual good connection, not some half-ass shit. Alright, so the stuff I'm using is a Quick Chip brand. It is no clean tack flux. So this is like a gel and it'll stick around. So the liquid stuff that evaporates, it's hard to work with because it just disappears so fast. So anyway, I globbed it all over there. So now when we hit this, we'll get a lot of smoke. And if there's enough, it'll help clean the solder surfaces. If this isn't strong enough, I also have what's called pipe flux, which is used for soldering you know, like copper pipes together. It's not exactly meant for wire, but when you got really, really dirty stuff, it does a hell of a job cleaning the shit up. So we'll heat up the solder. Try and get everything hot. I might have to add some more solder on top of that, but you kind of get the idea. It's hard to do one-handed, especially if it's dirty. We'll have to do it multiple times, but you get the idea. Okay, so now once I started adding more solder, she took just fine. So now it's a nice, clean, solid joint. It's good to go. If you notice, our shrink wrap shrinked a little bit, so hopefully I can slop it over there. If not, I don't know, we'll figure something out. There you go. That's a joint. So now if we wanted, we could plug that into the batteria, test it, and see what they look like. Okay, so it is possible to get that unstuck. I just used a really thin screwdriver, some WD-40, loosen it all up, and finally got them over the connection. So now the fun part, lighten it up. Ready for flames? This gets hot as crap. It'll be real quick. This has a different mode to open up the flame a bit, but yeah, you don't want to burn it. You just want enough to like seal it up. So I'm gonna hit that a little bit with 2 hands. Okay, beautiful. So there you go. That is a nice, wonderful connection ready to go. Excellent. 2 down, 3 to go. So now, the fun part of running it through the vehicle, we're gonna go underneath of our floor mat. We're gonna go up to the front because we're all meeting up to the center console. So those ones will go there, and then these ones enter right here. So we'll just take these, we'll go under the front seats and up to the center console that way. Easy beans. Now that's what I call swaggy. Excellent. Yeah, buddy. Oh, that's cool as shit. I'm getting kind of excited. Okay, so I got most of the lights wired up except for the passenger side one. So real quick, with this wire, we have, it looks like just enough to make it where we want, so I'm going to make the most use of this cable, and then we'll cut the short one off the long one. So, yeah, fishing the wire. So first off, how to enter the cab area. So we've got tons of different options to choose from. I've got this hole that's being used for like 50 different things, man. I haven't even seen porn stars do this. It's jam-packed, son. And then on this side, I'm actually making use of the hood release cable. I've got a couple that go through that one as well. And I even drilled my own for this fat monster, this one. That's not really being used for much. It runs through the compressor. I gotta hook it up to the sub at some point. But yeah, there's a couple different access points, but this is probably gonna be your main one, this grommet over here. So I have my wire snaking underneath the brake booster stuff. We're going outside of the airbox, and we're gonna fish it somewhere down behind the fan and down through the power steering. So how to actually fish your wire, I've got some hard wire here that you can bend around, and I got a little hook on it. So you send that wire through where you want it to go, then you hook your thing and you just go wire fishing. So then you just pull that through until she comes out the other side. I don't know if I put enough slack on it. The only thing with this flat cable is it doesn't really doesn't slide very well. So you kind of got to fiddly fart with it to get her to go through. But once it comes out the other side, then you can grab it and go on your merry way. Ta-da! That's how you go fishing for wires, son. Woo-hoo. Okay, so we got this wire going up there, over the steering, under the fan, and up through all that. And bright green zip ties to finish it off, right? So she's kind of under there, comes over here. So now we can feed the rest of that in there. Make it look all pretty-like. And the rest is history. Almost there, folks. Almost there. Alright, so now we got everything all bundled up and sitting over here, which is cool. So you can see why it's important that we know which side's positive and negative. So we can see that all the white text is positive and the blank is negative. So I just got it hooked up to some wiring I got in here. Let's check it out. Turn this off. Oh shit! Look at that, dude. Oh my god. Let's turn this light off too. Alright. This is all under the power of the Jeep. Dude. Oh man, this looks friggin' sweet. It's like an entire like spotlight, like showroom floor looking setup all underneath. Like, oh, it's weird. Cause you can't see where the lights are coming from. It's just perfect illumination underneath the Jeep. Holy hell, man. Dude, I dig it. That's what happens when you, you know, plan out where you're actually gonna put your lights and everything. Like, look at this spill. Like, oh my god. That's great. We can see, like, everything. Dude, rocks don't stand a chance. Holy shit. Y'all need a nightlight to scare away all the friggin' rock demons. Oh, we got you covered, son. Oh, jeez. Look at this, man. I'm losing it. Like, oh no, I lost a bolt. Let me just turn the sun back on so I can figure out where it went. Like, oh no, I gotta change the drive shaft at night. Oh, whatever am I gonna do? Gotta see where all the oil leaks are tonight. Oh, easy. Turn on the battery-powered sun bulbs. Oh. Did I mention I'm excited? Oh man, this is great. I'm loving it. I'm loving the light output. There's like minimal shadows. Every single tire is illuminated, front and back. You can see the pinions and the axles and like everything underneath the Jeep, and it's just like, oh my lord, this is so cool, dude. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh man, it was worth the 2 days worth of installation time to get this all figured out, but holy crap, man, like, bruh. See everything in the back and the front and just like, that is cool. I like it. Alright, I think it's time to go wheeling, man. We're gonna go find some night rocks and start wheeling. Oh lord, that is cool. So cool. I like it. Alright, so I just had to get video of the portable lighthouse. Like, look at this thing, dude. Oh my god, there's lights everywhere. Oh man, we got lights in the front, we got lights in the rear, got lights underneath, lights everywhere. Nice reverse lights, bumper. So yeah, I got a good feeling we're gonna see anything that we're trying to find now. Holy crap. Alright, well, there's no going back now. Finally decided to pick this spot right here, because I figured it matched well with the lights. The only other spot was like over here on the side, but it didn't feel right. So we're gonna put a little extra time into this. So, I made a cardboard template, got ourselves a Dremel with a little grindy wheel, and I carefully did each slit. So we're gonna push that out, clean it up, and see how the switch fits. I always like to cut a little short, that way we can grind it to shape. Because if you cut too big, then, well, you cut too big. Now what do you gotta do? Alright, so once you rough out a hole, now we're gonna take a file of some sort and just clean it up. All I really gotta do is open up this just a little bit at the bottom, and she should slide right in. Alright, part one is done. So don't forget about the little nubs over here. There's a little locating nub on either side for these factory switches that have to be ground out. So now that fits. So now part two, the regret part, is now we got to cut the crap out of the center console, because this pocket is deeper than that pocket. There's actually a cutout on the side, not on this side, but I want it to match. So we're gonna basically just cut a big ass hole out of it, so that way this switch will fit. And then I guess we'll just have to do something for the wires hanging out in the back there. Okay, so one of the issues I'm running into here is that we got to take 4 of these thick ass wires and run them into one little eyelet connector, like this guy, and I can't do that. I don't have a yellow one on me, so I can't really fit them all. So we're going to step it down to a smaller wire like that. But that still leaves us with the issue of having to solder 4 of these thick ass wires together onto this other one, so that's 5. So I like to break out the big daddy over here, the soldering gun. This is 120 volts of pure power. I don't know what the amperage on it because the sticker's worn, but there you go, there's some stuff. 1.2 amp? Is that really it? I don't know, whatever it was. Dude, the thing shakes in your hand when you pull this trigger. It's got enough power to melt through all that easy beans. So yeah, now that that's all good to go, I think all what's left is making the ground side and tapping the positive. Alright, so I think we have all of our wiring figured out. So I used the multimeter probe to figure out on the green wire which one was hot and which one was tied to the reverse lights, because these are for the reverse lights. But you can pick, you know, any hot or ignition depending on what you want. I have a bunch of wires that go out the dash to a fuse panel in the front in the engine bay. So all of this is fused. Fuses are very important. So anyway, our hot power is this one that goes into the middle. So you'll have to check what kind of switch you have, because some of them are a little different than what you'd expect. But this is a typical 3-prong switch with a light in it. So we have our power that goes in. For us, it's going into the middle. We have our load terminal, and we have our light terminal, okay? So the load is our 12-volt in. It goes into the switch. When we close it, if you notice, the switch is backwards, so when you're pushing the forward, it is actually connecting the back. See that? See that back going there? That's what makes the contact. So our power is going in from the middle, out to the load in the back. So this goes to our big hoo-ha of positive lights, and the circuit is finished with this ground right here, so these are the grounds to the lights. So power goes in the middle of the switch, out of the switch, into the lights, out of the lights, into the ground. So that's that. So that connects the circuit for the lights outside. So we turned on, we got on. Cool. Now, this ground might be a little confusing, but this is for the light inside the switch. So when the switch closes, power is allowed to go through the light and into ground. So it needs a ground path to do that. So that goes to ground as well. And now when we turn it on, we have a light on our switch, just like that. So that's that. Yippee. So now we can poof that in there, screw this down, and we're friggin' done. Yay! Alright, so we're all buttoned up. That's the final install. So the thing I immediately noticed is I was aligning my Dremel with this side, and this is on an angle. So now the switch is fucking crooked. So I should have been lining up with this one. Whatever. Fucking thing works at least. The switch is a little old, but it turns on and off. So yay, we did it, partner. Oh. Boring, no rock lights. Exciting, fancy rock lights. Ooh, so pretty. I dig it. Excellent. Ah, Christ, time to clean up. Okay, so I'd have to say that just about finishes the build for the under vehicle rock light installation. So again, big shout out to LEDMERCY for sponsoring this and sending me their product to review. I gotta say, I'm impressed. These things are very bright, they look nice, they have a super wide angle, and overall, pretty good for what you're paying. 8 of these for 60 bucks, you know, that's with shipping. So each one of those lights with the hardware and the kit and everything is less than 10 bucks a piece. That's, you know, you're getting quite a lot for your money. I will say that the hardware is a little interesting to try to install easily That's not the most convenient, but it does get the job done. So as long as you include a switch and the wiring, everything else is pretty much a piece of cake. So there you go. Maybe some other time I'll do the under hood lights and the rear hatch lights, but we'll make a separate video because this one is dragging on way too long. So if you've been sticking around this far, thanks for watching. That right there be some rock lights. As some famous guy said once, let there be light. And there was light.